My name is Khotina Ksenia, and today I'm going to speak about one of the most charming, gorgeous, and incredible cities. I'm going to speak about Paris. To tell you the truth, I'm sure that speaking about world capitals like Paris, for example, and learning something new about their culture is important, because nowadays more and more people are interested in traveling or even settling down in such cities. To prevent cultural shock and committing a social blunder during the conversation with people from another culture, we should know their history, customs, and traditions. And to travel with pleasure and to get some knowledge of these cities, we should know their main attractions and their history. So, the main points that I'll be dealing with are history of Paris and main attractions. So let's start. First, I'd like to ask you a question. Did you know that France in general is the most popular tourist destination on Earth? No? Today I'll tell you why. In this part of my presentation, I'd like to talk about history of Paris. So Paris is the capital and most popular city in France, with an area of 105 square kilometers and a population of more than 2 million people. Since the 17th century, Paris has been one of Europe's major centers of finance, commerce, fashion, science, and the arts. Paris is especially known for its museums and architectural landmarks. The city's roots go back to the 3rd century BC, and cultural influences as diverse as Celtic, Roman, Scandinavian, and English, which were woven into the city's rich heritage. It's a history that is far too long and complex to easily summarize, but here is a brief account of key events and facts. So, in the 3rd century BC, the area around the Seine River is settled by a tribe of Celtic fishermen, the Parisii. The settlement is named Lutetia. In 52 BC, the Roman Empire under Julius Caesar seizes the city, which becomes part of the Roman territory known as Gaul. Around 250 AD, Lutetia is Christianized and the first churches are built. Then, during the 4th and the 9th centuries, Lutetia changes to Paris, and after that, lots of historical monuments were built. For example, in 1163, the construction of the Notre Dame Cathedral begins. During the 12th and 15th centuries, lots of other historical monuments were built, like Sorbonne, the Saint-Chapelle Cathedral, Louvre, and Versailles. The most important period in Paris's history was when Napoleon Bonaparte became emperor in 1804, and many of the famous boulevards and city center buildings were transformed. The streets were made much wider, places and squares were built, and the buildings completely rebuilt. The atmosphere was totally transformed, space and perspective being main ingredient, such as you can see on the Avenue des Champs-Élysées in buildings such as Notre Dame. This also influenced other French cities to change. And in the middle of 19th century, the Paris that still largely remains visible today is constructed by Baron Haussmann under the direction of Emperor Napoleon III. So, as you can see, history has influenced this city more than we could ever imagine. And now it's time to move to the next point of my presentation, which is about main attractions born by the historical events. So the Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower is one of the most well-known landmarks in the world, built by Gustav Eiffel in 1889. For the World Exposition, the construction was completed after 2 years, 2 months and 5 days. It was only meant to stay up for the duration of the exposition, however, it still remains up to this day. It is 324 meters tall and built of iron. It is twice as high as Washington Monument. Once you reach the base of the tower, it is possible to visit the 3 levels. There is an elevator to take you to each level, but the higher you go, the more it costs. If you are more adventurous and would like to avoid the queues, then walk up the metal staircase to level 1 or 2. Finding the tower is very easy, as you can see it for miles, but there is also the metro at the Trocadero station. At first, many Parisians were against it, however now everyone loves it, and it is what makes Paris known as the City of Lights. The next point of my presentation is about Louvre. The Louvre is one of the greatest art museums in the world, located in the heart of the French capital. A central landmark of the city, it is located on the right bank of the Seine in the city's first district. The museum is housed in the Louvre Palace, originally built as a fortress in the late 12th to 13th century under Philip II. During the French Revolution, the National Assembly decided that the Louvre should be used as a museum to show the nation's masterpieces. The museum opened on the 10th of August in 1793 with an exhibition of 537 paintings. And now Louvre contains more than 400,000 objects and displays 35,000 works of art in 8 departments. It is a home to one of Leonardo da Vinci's most famous painting, the Mona Lisa. Also, its website offers a very interesting virtual visit of the gallery. In 2017, the Louvre was the world's most visited art museum, receiving more than 8 million visitors. The next point of my presentation is Arc de Triomphe. The Arc de Triomphe de l'Étoile is one of the most famous monuments in Paris, standing at the western end of the Champs-Élysées at the center of Place Charles de Gaulle. The Arc de Triomphe has an overall height of 50 meters. It honors those who fought and died for France in the French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars, with the names of all French victories. The next historical monument of Paris is Notre Dame de Paris, also known as Notre Dame Cathedral or simply Notre Dame, is a Catholic cathedral in the 4th district of Paris. Construction began in 1163 and the monument was completed in 1345. It is one of the first buildings with such a design. The cathedral is widely considered to be one of the finest examples of French Gothic architecture, and it is among the largest and best known church buildings in the Catholic Church in France and in the world. In this part of presentation, I'd like to speak about the Seine. The Seine is a 777-kilometer long river and an important commercial waterway within the Paris Basin in the north of France. There are 37 bridges within Paris and dozens more spanning the river outside the city. It cuts Paris into the right bank and the left bank. In 1991, UNESCO added the banks of the Seine in Paris to its list of World Heritage Sites in Europe. Since 2002, Paris Pages has been held every summer on the Paris banks of the Seine. It is a transformation of the banks into a beach with sand and facilities for sunbathing and entertainment. So, to get to the point, Paris is the capital of France with which has an annual 30 million foreign visitors, and so is one of the most visited cities in the world. Due to the fact Paris's sites include monuments and architecture, boulevards and buildings, as well as museums, operas and concert halls. There are also more modern attractions, such as its suburban Disneyland. With its many monuments, the city is a symbol of French culture, and since the 2000 attracts nearly 3 million visitors per year. Well, this brings me to the end of my presentation. So we can summarize the key points, which you can see on the slide. And I'd like to say, in conclusion, based on the figures we have, I'm quite certain that Paris is a wonderful city that takes your breath away. I've been always impressed by the city, and I have always dreamt of going there. I hope one day I'll visit Paris. I think now you have a vivid picture in your mind that it is an amazing city, and as one of the main characters from the movie French Kiss, Charlie, said, that it casts a spell. Do you agree with him? Have I proved his words with my presentation? Thank you for your attention.